a lot of opinions from multiple sources that are not necessarily in line with a faith-based perspective.
As friends, we often chat about many current topics and relationship issues.
Lend your ear and peep into our private conversation.
Welcome to Realistic Conversations,
A platonic perspective with Kay and Ryan.
Hey, Kay, what's going on? How's everything? How was the week? I haven't heard from you all week.
The week was wonderful. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been busy, but having a good time. Thank God for the weekend. What's going on?
Thank God for the weekend is right. Ain't nothing much, so let me just give you a call, see how you was doing since haven't heard from you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I don't need to apologize. I know you're a social butterfly, so I'm not your only platonic friend there is.
Have you been working this week?
Oh man, just like Rihanna, you know me, work.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think for me is like the change of the weather. And my previous job, I used to work 6 to 2, so I get home at 2:30. I could run to the gym, go bike riding, but now I leave work at 4. And now it's getting dark earlier. My bike riding is cut out, so I just go to the gym. So work in the gym for now. How about you?
At least you're getting it in. It's been too cold for me to actually want to get up, so I'm trying to get back in because I go early in the morning, but it's been cold. Yeah, we hit 30 degrees.
Oh wow, that's funny because we haven't hit it yet.
It's
but I
coming.
know that cold spell was in the south, so
it went up to 70 something today, so that's how it is, up and down.
Yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, so I call you to get your, I don't want to say opinion, but share a testimony. So, co-worker of mine, this week he asked me, he was like, "Yo, I always see you smiling, always see you happy, always hear you singing." He was like, "Are you single?"
Smiling, happy, singing equals single. That is sad.
He was like, "Yo, he said you can't be married." So I was like, "Why you say that?" He was like, "Nah, you can't be married." I said, "Yo, I've been married for like 7 years." And he was like, "Nah, that's impossible." So I asked him, I was like, "So are you in a relationship?" He says, "Yeah." I was like, "For how long?" He was like, 12 years.
Wow.
And I was like, "So you're not sure she's the one?" And he went on with like, "Well, and my family, my uncles, they all, got divorced and blah, blah, blah." So I was like, "So you're going to base your relationship on something you saw from someone else?" And he was like, "Well, some people change their minds." And I was like, "People change their mind all the time, but do you think that it's fair for your woman to be in the girlfriend status for 12 years because of what you've seen happen with your family members?" So he was like, "No, it's a little bit more than that." So I was like, "I know what it is." He's like, "What?" I said, "Fear."
Mm-hmm.
He said, all right. He finally admitted, right? Is the fear of the unknown. So I was like, the fear of the unknown. So I said to him, "You've been with her for 12 years and you don't trust her?" "Well, now I can trust her. You live together?" "Yeah, we live together." So I was like, "So what's the issue?"
You're right.
So then he was like, "Well, people change their minds. Sometimes, you get married and you say, 'I do,' then the woman change." And I was like, "Well, some discussions are warranted, but I don't believe that it is fair to her that you're just stringing her along because of some fears that you have." I say, maybe you need to address those fears. I say, have you ever discussed with her the reason for the stalling or the delay? He was like, "Man, I can't have those discussions." So I was like, "Well, what do you mean you can't have those discussions?" I say, "I get it. For us as men to open up and be vulnerable, sometimes is a sign of weakness, and we might be afraid of what the perception of us might be to show that kind of weakness. So I was like, you know what? I really think that you and her should sit down and discuss your thought process. So he was like, oh man, if I was to tell her let's get married, she'd probably want to get married today. So I was like, well, I said, I agree with her. You should get married.
But
Right?
let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
So he mentioned fear, which is why he didn't necessarily want to pursue marriage. But it was 12 years. So do you think he
12
had
years a
a
slave.
do you think he had a number in mind then that he would have been more comfortable with? Because if 12 years is not enough time to develop trust and honesty, then what number would he have been comfortable with?
Well, we didn't really discussed no number. So, man, we ain't discussing a time period. He was just sharing his feelings about marriage, and not even really commitment, because he was already in a committed relationship. But taking that next step from the committed relationship to marriage was the fear of her changing for the worse, not even the better, for the worse. So I asked him, is there anything about her that you don't know? And he was like, no. But his only reference to the fear was what he's seen around him with his family members. So I said to him, well, we don't necessarily know the truth as to why your family members break up or broke up, right? Because, a lot of times we play the blaming game. So you don't really know the truth of why they broke up. But I said it's not fair for your significant other to go through that stringing along because you're afraid. I said this is something you should discuss with her.
So he learned from what he saw that marriage equaled breakup.
Yeah.
Versus not being married and staying committed in a long term would yield better results.
Not only that, he equate my happiness to being single.
That too.
Right? So, and it's sad that a lot of us men think like that. So I was like, I said, nah, you should approach the situation.
Okay, so did he?
Yeah, so the next day, he says to me, yo, I'm going ring shopping. I was like, what?
A day later.
A day later.
Wow.
He said he was going ring shopping.
My goodness.
And he also said to me, if it don't work, I'm blaming you.
Wow, that is so ridiculous. It took
Yeah.
one conversation to change his outlook.
Yeah, because I said to him, listen, you can't go into marriage on a negative outlook. I said, because the first time the person makes a mistake, that negativity it surfaces, right? Oh, I knew I should never do it. Yada, 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 yada. And then we start making excuses. But I said, once you go in with a positive outlook, especially when you know for a fact that not that you love the person, that the person loves you, right? Because you could love someone, they don't love you, especially when you know for a fact that the person loves you and that you love the person. And the thing is go in with a positive outlook and express that love to her the way how, and I can't say you know best because a lot of us have different perceptions of love, but express that love to him or her in the way that Christ intended it to be. And that's the best way to go into a marriage relationship. So the next day he came in, he said he went looking for the ring. He didn't see anything that he liked as of yet. And then the following day, He was like, listen, I found a ring. I'm going to pop the question.
Wow.
So I think this is what, Wednesday. So Wednesday, he says he's going to pop the question. And then Friday, when he came to work, he showed me where he proposed
Unbelievable.
to a woman, and he had it on video.
So, had you guys not had this conversation, she would have been going on 15 and 20 years, still not married to her partner.
Yeah.
Well, she better thank you at the wedding. That is so ridiculous. And I keep going back to the fact that he really had issue with being married versus commitment, because I know most, like for me in my past, the issue is usually commitment. It's believing that if you commit to this one person that you're missing out on opportunity of something else, or that you possibly made the wrong decision. But in this example, he felt like he made the right decision. He was just afraid of her changing.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
yet
they
didn't
were-
have the conversation.
Yeah, because they were already in a committed relationship. I was like, you plan on cheating on her? He said, nah, we good. I was like, you think she'll cheat on you? He said, nah, we good. So I was like, what's the problem?
And was he happy?
Yeah.
So he was happy. He was in a committed relationship, but yet he still thought in his mind that you must be single. So this facade of happiness from a non-committed perspective, it doesn't make sense.
Well, to me, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you talk to a lot of married men, these dudes be like, oh,
Stay single. But yet, if I ask them, how are you doing? Are you happy? Yes, I'm very happy. I don't know how you single people do it. Double-mindedness.
well, I guess it's at the moment when you ask the question, are they happy? And you know, sometimes you can be mad at your spouse, and somebody asks you, "Oh, what's wrong? You married?" You're like, "Yeah."
Come on, man.
You know, but like in life, everything has its ups and downs, and it's not.
Mhm.
So you know, I tell people this: my marriage is perfect. Like, oh no, marriage is perfect. I said, no, my marriage is perfect. I say we argue and then we make up. Right? So it's not that a perfect marriage is a disagreement-free relationship.
Mhm.
There are always going to be topics that you may not agree upon. But it's how you deal with the disagreement is what really counts, right? Because sometimes you could disagree on a topic or a situation, and some people don't talk for 2-3 days. And other times people recognize that it's just a topic of conversation. It has nothing to do with the marriage.
So how do you get people then to get out of this mindset? You said most guys feel this way. To get out of this mindset that to really be happy is continuing to stay single versus sharing your life with someone else. How do you get rid of that perception?
I don't really think you can.
I think you can by just the example of this coworker, realizing that, hey, you are happy in relationship. Things are not 100% perfect. There are ups and downs, but yeah, you can still have your joy, your freedoms, your autonomy. You can share, you can do all of these very things while still in a relationship and still yet be quote unquote happy.
Yeah, well, the reason why I said something is difficult, right? Because a lot of times people think you're lying.
Oh, okay.
You're covering up something. But I think because I think this dude had probably been watching me for a while. Cause we wasn't really like that. He didn't really converse that much, but he just came forward and says, "Yo, I always watching. You're always smiling, always happy. You got to be single, right?" So I guess he was just watching the way how I move. But then I think that what his perception of me was, and then what I told him, that probably helped change his thought process, right? because he know from my conversation, it was literally coming from a place of genuineness, not the facade of I'm a happy married man. And then also another thing is too, if me and my wife having a disagreement, I don't go to work and complain about how she is. That's another thing too, right? Because sometimes you keep complaining. People don't necessarily remember the good that you say, but they also they remember the complaints that you make. But I think
This is true.
yeah, so I think I may not be able to change the perception of everybody, but there are some people who, who may just listen and reflect. Because I was telling the person one of the benefits of marriage, right? It was a dude. One of the benefits of marriage for me as a man is to wake up next to somebody who I know has my back. And I don't have to go through situations alone.
Well, people can get that without marriage too.
Yeah, you can. But guess
I
what?
wouldn't say that's a formula for happiness and
No,
relationship.
it's not a formula for happiness, but that's why I said that's one of the benefits of being married, right? Because sometimes, for me, that's an important benefit because when you single, yeah, you have your friends and you have your associates, but to know that one guaranteed person have your back, that means a lot to me. And not to say that my friends wouldn't have my back, but there are some intimate conversations that you would share with your spouse that you may not even share with your best friend.
Which is why your spouse is now your best friend.
Well,
even though you don't agree. You just proved the entire
it's not, I would say
point.
my best friend, but I would say there's a different level of friendship.
Okay.
Yeah, different level.
The best level.
Huh?
The best level.
So, here's the thing though. When you have a best friend, there's certain conversation that you can have with that person that you necessarily can't have with your spouse.
That's fair. So when your coworker is looking at your life, you said he's watching you for a while. There are other married men that I'm sure were there too that didn't show up as happy as you were. So I do think that there's also the spiritual aspect of your life that you were bringing to work every day as well.
Well, I would say it could be because yeah, there are other married men there, but they're always complaining. I should never got married. My wife this, my wife that, my wife this. But I'm not that kind of dude to say I should never got married. My wife this and my wife that. So I'm able to leave my issues at home, and when I get home, I can leave my issues at work. So that don't really they don't intersect or they don't overlap when it comes to me because I don't believe that I should bring my issues from home into the workplace. And then if I got an issue with a person at work to bring home to my wife, she ain't the one who caused a problem at work. So why would I lash out at her?
I think that's good.
Yeah. So, but I think, from a spiritual aspect, he probably, always see me, singing, laughing, talking with the Lord. Probably saying this dude probably crazy, but sometimes that's what I do.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I was just glad that I was able to change the perception of something that God intended to be good, but the devil took it as a mockery. And have people believing that marriage is this horrible thing, but that's not how God intended it to be. Because remember, he gave Adam a longing for a helpmate. By just naming the animals, he recognized that every animal had a pair, and Adam was longing for a pair. And everything that everything that God has created was to benefit us. So he didn't make marriage for it to be hell on earth. He made marriage for a taste of heaven on earth. That's why it's important for us to consult with God deeply when choosing a spouse.
Also, I'm going back to thinking about being in a relationship with someone for 12 years and not knowing whether or not that relationship would lead to marriage, right? And this person had a fear that his partner would change. And to be honest, with being with someone and you don't know the direction and trajectory of that relationship, that can make a person change. Where now they feel like they're being taken advantage of, right? They don't feel like they're valued. They don't believe their worth anymore. And so not committing could also have the exact results that he was afraid of experiencing with marriage.
You know, one of the things, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier. One of the things that he said, because I suggested it, I was like, you know what? I could see why you're afraid to get married. He was like, why? I said, because you're looking for an easy way out, for a quick exit. And he was like, exactly.
A quick exit?
Yes. So when you're living with a person and there's no marriage papers, if anything happened, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
You could go your way and they could go their way, and there's no
cut ties.
Just cut ties. But here's the issue with that, right? That don't really happen. People cut ties after they get married, usually. I've known people together for 10 years or more under the same roof, not married, and they get married and divorce within a year.
Statistics show that, yeah.
Yep.
And there's no psychological, like they've done studies to try to determine what it is. I personally think it's the awareness of the pressure of the legalities of marriage. Because when it's not, when you're just together and there's anybody can leave at any time, and now you're together and you know that if anybody leaves at any time, there's a lot more at stake. I personally think that's what causes the dissolution. It's the pressure of knowing that there's more at stake.
And not only that, too, guess what? When you're together for a long time and you have issues, some people get married thinking marriage is going to cure the issues.
And that's true, too.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So now you're together for 10 years plus, thinking, you know what, let's just like jagged edge. Let's just get married. Right?
Meet me at the altar.
In your white dress.
We ain't getting no younger.
You might as well do it.
Oh right? My gosh.
And marriage does not solve the issues.
No. If anything, we've learned that whatever the issues are, they're magnified in marriage.
Yep. Because I've heard some dear friends of mine who said, yo, after we got married, he was still doing the same nonsense.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, he was still doing the same nonsense. We married now, this should stop. No.
What did marriage change? Nothing.
Because the person is going to say, I've been like this for the past 15 years.
And you put up with it.
And you put up with it. Right? So I think that is a whole different reasons why people are afraid to get married or why people get married. But we can't use marriage as a solution, right? Or how you say it? The end all be all, right? Nah, that's not the purpose of marriage. So I think what needs to happen is people get to change their mindset of what marriage really supposed to be like, right? Versus you're going into a lifelong commitment and you're having ifs and doubts about a person. That's really not fair to that person, right? You and that person should have these discussions even before you're contemplating marriage.
Also, I think it's cool that when you were talking to your coworker, you were asking the right questions to help him figure out the answers to his own problem.
Yeah, because like I talk to a lot of dudes, and most dudes have the same issues. They're either afraid of commitment or they're afraid to take the next step past commitment. Right. And for me, I think it was my relationship with Christ that helped me through the process of marriage. Because my whole idea of marriage before Christ was
What was it before, and how did your relationship with God change that?
what was it before? It was like, typical, I don't want to get married, or if I get married, the wife's going to do this, I'm going to do that. She has to do this, I have to do that. But
Mm.
when I started to read the word of God, and not just read, begin to apply his principles in my life, he gave me clear direction of what he want me to do in marriage.
Principles
So,
like what?
huh? Well,
Principles
he would
like what we
he
talked about,
said like,
servitude?
huh?
Principles like servitude, or what kind of principles are we talking?
Not really, not just principles of servitude, right? But sometimes a lot of times we want to change our spouse. And
Okay.
he said, I didn't put you together for you to change her. I put you together for you to love her. Right. And that's one of the things. So a lot of us don't know what it is to love. A lot of us have not experienced love. And once I begin to study God's word, I begin to experience love from God, recognizing what he have done for me, what he is doing for me, and what he will continue to do for me. And that gave me a whole different perspective on life and what my life supposed to be like.
And you know what I just thought about too when you were talking about change and love? The reality of it is too that when we start to love God and build that relationship with God the way we should, we automatically begin changing ourselves as well, because we want to do the best that we can to honor, to respect, um, and have loyalty to our Father who we love. And I do think that's the same beauty in marriage and relationships. Once you start to apply those same principles of love, you want to change to become a better person for the person that you're with. Instead of you focusing and worrying about changing them, they naturally will change once you just pour in that unconditional love, that long suffering love that I'm still working on. I think that it happens so easily, so naturally that we don't even have to worry about it. Just let go and let God.
And the funny thing you be laughing, right? But the funny thing you say that because our marriage is supposed to reflect God.
Mm-hmm.
And when people see a couple or a family together, and that family is a reflection of God, it actually gives hope to other people. So I think that's what happened with my coworker situation. That when he actually hear me express how marriage is supposed to be and the things that he should consider, it actually gave him hope that it's not that bad. So sometimes instead of trying to change a person's perception, just show them the benefits of marriage, because a lot of us don't even think of the benefits of marriage, right?
We don't.
Huh?
We don't.
No, most people don't think of benefits of marriage. Most people think of the negativity that comes with marriage.
That's interesting perspective, because I think if people were thinking about the negative, they wouldn't continue trying to pursue it. And I think people are still trying to pursue it every day.
Yeah, but for
and
what
getting
reason?
it wrong every day. I think the benefits, like you said, I think expectations from society, family members, feeling lonely and not dealing with the reasons you're lonely, because you could be in marriage and still feel alone. There's a whole bunch of different reasons. But I think people focus on more of their perceptions of the positive things.
Which could also be delusional.
Most of the time, unfortunately, it is delusional.
I think I told a person the other day that sometimes, especially as Christians, we use marriage as a legal way to have sex.
Oh boy, that's probably the number one reason most people decide that they're going to go ahead and do the darn thing.
As Christians, not the non-Christians, but a lot of Christians in the church, we use marriage as a legal way to have sex.
We ain't getting no younger.
We might as well do it.
Well, I'm glad you had to talk with your friend. I hope you get a great invitation to the wedding. Make sure you have a conversation with his wife, and that's
Yeah,
real cool.
hope so.
Well,
And you know
thanks
what?
for.
I'm glad to share this with you because you could share that story with some of your other platonic friends.
Yeah, and I really do love the questions that you asked. I thought that was really enlightening. Like I said, I think you helped him to figure out where he needed to go. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and God always places people where they need to be. And that was the right time, the right moment, the right time, the right place, and the right space.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, all right then. So let me go. I got some running around to do, but we'll talk later. Enjoy
Well,
the rest of
thanks.
the week.
All right. Appreciate the
All right.
call.
Talk to you later.
Take it easy now.
Take it
Bye.
easy.
Hey, thanks for listening to this week's conversation.
If you like what you heard and want to listen to what we chat about next, please look for Realistic Conversation Podcast on all streaming platforms.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and peep into our next episode by clicking the subscribe button. You'll then be notified of when we post next. See you soon.
See you soon.